Good morning, good morning. It's another coffee live stream after perusing in the bass forums. And I have a challenge for you. We're going to cut right to the chase. First off, let's talk about what is inspiring, what's inspiring this post, this live stream. Once again in the forums, as one does, and there's a lot of talk about music theory. And some of these think pieces that are in here in these forums, it's just like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It always seems to be like the one guy that's like starting the shit. But here's the thing, man. Here's where I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you. I've been thinking about this. I want you to write this down. And wherever you practice your instrument, I want you to, David Greer, what's up? Excellent. David Greer, shoot me an email. Here are the questions. Write this down. What kind of music do you want to play? Who do you want to play it with? Let me say that again. You need to put this on a sticky note. Somewhere. What kind of music do you want to play, and who do you want to play it with? If you answer these questions honestly, what kind of music are you into? Like really, really, really into. What kind of music are you really into? What is your heart music? Let me tell you a quick story. I started playing in cover bands or so when I was about 17, 18 years old. So that's 87, 88. I got into a band called the City News Band when I was about 19 or 20. And I didn't know jack. Everything that I did, everything that I sounded like everything. And I was playing that T40 bass right there. Sounded like Prince, Minneapolis, Ready for the World, all that. Everything. I ain't know no tunes. I didn't know any tunes. And I got hired to be in this band. And this was like, this was getting in the van, driving around Southeast Louisiana, whatnot. And band leader was a guy named Hot Dog J. Williams. Anyway, Hot Dog J. Williams. Yep. Anyway, I got fired from that band, and the band leader told me, man, you got to listen to something besides Prince. Well, Prince was all I wanted to do, but then I also wanted to do this cover band thing, so I knew that there was repertoire that I needed to know. And that repertoire meant that I was going to sometimes learn music that I did not like. Somebody asked me on Instagram last night, how do you handle gigs when you playing music that you don't like? Well, I'm showing up to do a job. This is what I do for a living, so I do the job, and I make it do what it do, even when I don't like the tune or whatever. So fast forward, then I start playing with, I'm making my own music, which was soul, funk, R&B based. So the amount of theory that I knew at that time was kind of in that vein, right? And there were theoretical things that I knew that I didn't understand that I knew. I knew how to play them. I didn't know how to explain them. Music theory is a way to explain music. Just theory, right? Follow me here. Later, I said, man, I want to be more intentional about what I'm playing. I didn't know what I didn't know. I just knew that I wasn't playing with intention. as much intention as I wanted. I didn't have as much freedom as I wanted. I wanted to expand. Now, my boneheaded thing, this was not, if I had to do it all over again, I would not at all go get a degree in music. I would not do it. I would not do it. I was having this conversation at Tipitina's a few nights ago with my boy Aurelian Barnes from the Rumble. And Aurelian is one of the dopest trumpet players and one of the nice sweetheart of a guy. He plays in a band called the Rumble. You should look them up. So it's me, Aurelian Barnes, and Terrence Houston backstage at Tipitina's, and we're talking, and both Terrence and Aurelian, we're talking about, like, you know, like in music, getting a degree in music, you either have a performance degree or education. I'm like, shit, I was already performing by the time I went to school. I didn't need to do, but what I ended up doing, I ended up being a teacher for 11 years. I was a music teacher, right? So I did general music. I did band, middle school band. I did what we call show band. So I did rock and R&B band at a conservatory in Oakland. I did music technology, things like that. And that was a wonderful experience. Wonderful experience. But if I had the chance to do it all again, I would not do that. My response to this post, let me show it to you. I'm going to show it to you, and let's talk about it. What kind of music? I'm serious. If I die today, man, I want to leave somebody with this. I need to stop saying that. What kind of music do you want to play, and who do you want to play it with? What are you really into? Answer these questions honestly, and watch how much you save on gear, courses, downloads, gadgets, gizmos, time on the internet, reading think pieces like this one, or on YouTube, although I think my channel is pretty cool. Haha. Seriously, what kind of music do you want to play, and who do you want to play it with? What are you really into it? So here's my thing. Whenever I hear people say it, whenever I hear people say they know music theory, they know just enough to not be able to play a 4-hour gig with no charts, no prep. Most of the people, in my opinion, may or may not be able. Most of the people that I know who do that, they know how to play, and they can explain some of these things to you. They may not be great teachers, but they can explain enough theory to. We played last night, and oh man, the gig I played last night on Bourbon, I was dreading going to this gig because it was raining. Just stay with me. It was raining, and I didn't want to deal with parking and blah, 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 blah. That gig wound up being so much fun. There was no singer on the gig, but I sang. The guitar player, Michael McDonald, not him. The guitar player sang, and we played it was an Isley Brothers song, and I knew the beat, I knew the A section, but I really didn't know the B section. But I'm sitting next to the keyboard player, and the keyboard player, what theory does he know? He knows enough to tell me what I need to know in the right time for me to react to it in real time. So the only people who know that I don't really know the B section are me and him. We played so many songs last night that we didn't, like, it was like, man, look, I don't really know the words, or whatever, and when we start going, oh shit, we ought to add this to, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you've played with so many different people. I've played with so many different. I wind up singing songs like I'm like, I never sang this song before. I never had an idea of if I could sing it, but I've played this song so many times with so many different people that I'm like, shit, maybe I do know it. You gotta do. You can't just have theory. And what a lot of people know is music facts. They know music facts, grammar facts. The alphabet is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Victor Wooten famously said, like, could you imagine somebody walking up to you and you say, "How you doing?" and and somebody just said A, B, C, D, E, F. Like, you know what I mean? Knowing music theory is more helpful than it isn't. That's for sure. That's absolutely for sure. Knowing beats not knowing. Okay? That's going to give you a lot. So I will never say, "Nah, I don't know that." Nah, I don't know that. But when I look at I run my YouTube channel like a business. So I look at the analytics. I know the demographics of my audience, and I know that a lot of you cats are weekend warriors. A lot of you cats, play semi-professionally, but you have other places, other areas in your life where you're very accomplished, and you're raising families, you've had careers, all these different things, and you're like, man, I want to play the bass and have some fun, decompress after work. I want to play in my church band. I got some buddies that I like to play with on the weekend, things of that nature. You may, some of y'all write songs on the side. You know what I mean? You want to maybe get into Logic and play your own bass lines. So I'm pausing because I see some comments coming in that I want to react to. But it's the amount of theory that you need is proportional to what your goals are. The end. Andrew Collins, what's up? Thanks, man. That gig was fun. That gig was hella fun. It was hella fun. And I wasn't expecting it to be fun. To be honest, I was dreading that gig. Let's see what these. So my challenge, let me get to my challenge. My challenge is that, here's my challenge. And I'm not asking you to leave TED Talks Bass, come kick it with me. You know what I'm saying? But kick it with your boy. I got content that comes out every week, but this is what I want you to do. For 30 days, I want you to answer those questions honestly. What kind of music do I want to play? And who do I want to play it with? And I want you to focus only on the theory. We got to define what the word theory means. I don't even know what the word theory, the actual word theory means. I'm going to have to get off here soon. I got like a 4 or 5 hour drive for my next gig, where I have no set list. I have no idea. I'm going to get to that. A theory, noun, a supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something. Especially one based on general principles independent of the thing to be explained. Let me read that again. A theory, a supposition or system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles independent of the thing to be explained. This is why, in my private teaching practice, I have taught a lot of adult beginners, amateurs, professionals, college students, and I've taught a lot of younger students. Check this out. Especially with adults, I always ask them the same series of questions. Always. I can give, because here's the thing. I may not be the guy for you. I may not be the right person for you. And I don't want to take your money. I don't want to take your money because I want to be paid for my time. I want to be paid for my time, but I want to be paid for my time ethically. Right? Ethically. So I may not be the right person for you. Now, I'm always going to ask an adult or anybody, really, what do you want to play? What are you into? Yada, yada. But when I was teaching, I would get, in the Bay Area, you'd get like, there would be, I could name a whole bunch of, like, I could name a handful of bass teachers that were all kind of circling around the middle school, high school arena. And we'd all kind of encounter the same students or whatever. And here's the point of that. A middle school student who is trying to audition for the high school jazz band, there's a series of things that they need to know for that. They need to train for that. You see what I'm saying? The high school student that is then going to college, they need to train for that. So it's a different thing. It doesn't mean that they don't get to play their heart music, but it also means, hey, you want to go into that arena, you need to know X, Y, and Z. And you need a teacher who knows what you need to know to be in that arena. Now, a little kid needs to just know how to pick the thing up and play. My godson just picked up a bass. And he tells me, I just learned how to play Controversy. I don't want to get this live stream demonetized, so I'm not going to play it. But you see what my response was, right? Can I? No, doesn't matter. So I got a lot of comments coming in on this, and I'm curious to see the comments. But I feel very strongly about this, right? I'll give you another example, and y'all can see what the challenge is on the screen. But I'm going to give you another example. If you know me, you know I like to work out. The times when I have the best results is when I follow a program. Gotta say it. Is when I follow a program. That's when I have the best results. That started for me, I did P90X. And every day I got up and I did P90X. For 90 days, that's what I did. Then I did Insanity. Oh God, I could never do that again. My heart just don't even work that way again, right? And then I followed other programs. And then it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I have a split that I do. I do this area this way, this area this way, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm like, I'm on another program because there's but they fall around these general principles. What do you want? And a lot of people can't answer the question, what do they want? And that's not a dig. That's not a dig at all. That's not a dig at all because I think we're all like that. I think we all need to sit back and say, what do I want? You can think about that in so many different areas of your life. Dating. I mean, come on. Type a 1 in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. How many relationships have you been in that turned out to be the only benefit you got out of them was finding out what you didn't want? Right? So, and all of this is just a suggestion. You guys are free to do whatever you want to do. So I wanted to first look at this comment. Life doesn't work that way. You carve that niche so hard that it removes ways to effectuate collaboration. The sentence effectuate collaboration. I don't want to sound like a jerk here. I don't want to sound like but that who uses the word effectuate? Okay. I don't want to be a jerk. I'm not trying to be a jerk here. Who uses the word effectuate in normal everyday conversation? Nobody. So here's the thing with that. People who say that they know their theory are folks that then, like, when they get to the gig, if they can get a gig, can't play anything. They can talk about it. They can use big words. Doesn't mean they can play. Stickster says, that's someone trying to sound smarter than others. Just say what you mean. Just say what you mean. You ain't got to be the smartest person in the room, yo. I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I don't get any extra money for being the smartest person in the room. I don't need to be right. Right? I don't need to be right. And then he says, but I will say, where are the musicians now that can play 3 sets without charts? They're all over the place. They are literally all over the place. I played with 4 of them last night, and I'm going to play with 6 more of them tonight. They are literally all over the place. And it doesn't mean that they don't know music theory. It's nonsensical. It's nonsensical to me. But my challenge, let me read some more of these comments. The kind of music doesn't matter one jot to me. Making it with people that I like and care about does. Amen. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen to that, Phil. Amen to that. I'm not showing you guys what I'm because I think I might be breaking some guidelines if I show too much of the and I do want to be respectful. I do want to be respectful. One guy says, I want to play Mr. Big songs with Eric Martin, so I'm going to do that tonight. Yeah. Yeah, man. Now, if you were into Mr. Big, if you saw the live stream I did yesterday, I did something on Black Sabbath, and somebody was trying to learn Black Sabbath out of a book, which I think is not a great way to learn Black Sabbath because you miss some of the things. But if there are certain theories that you know, it makes it easier to learn and grasp those things for sure. Somebody else says, I play what I like. Sometimes I play with a band. Other times I'll play covers with a backing track. It just depends on the day and the mood I'm in. Or more often, it's determined by if anyone else wants to jam. Unfortunately, I can't summon drummers or guitar players at will. Yeah. It's not that clear cut if you want, Here's another one. It's not that clear cut if you want, Jesus Christ. It's not that clear cut if what you want to do is follow your muse and just make the music that comes naturally to you. Actually, it is. Actually, it is. Like I said, I don't need to be right, but I'm going to go to my grave saying, what kind of music do you want to play? Who do you want to play it with? Answer those questions honestly for yourself. Answer those questions honestly for yourself. and you're going to save mountains of money, mountains of time. I was talking to another bass backstage at Tipitina's, Noah Young. I was talking to him, fantastic bass player, who we live in the same city. We had never met before, but we started talking. And he, to my understanding, plays two types of basses. Now, we live in New Orleans, so New Orleans has got a sort of a vibe, right? And I have on the wall there, I have a P bass with flat wounds. I'm a professional bass player. A P bass with flat wounds is a thing that a professional, someone who calls himself a professional, should have in their arsenal of basses. I think that someone who is working, and most of the, Thomas McDonald, Josh Caron, Kenan Shaw, Paul Boudreaux. I'm thinking of all these guys. These guys have, excuse me, Noah was telling me he was playing a Sire. He was playing a Sire V7. He's like, I've never paid more than $700 for a bass. And he's just kind of like nonchalant, kind of like, I guess one day I'm going to like buy a really high end 5-string. Stitcher said, man, I used to say that too. I used to say, man, a P bass is a one-trick pony, but damn, it is one good trick. It is. I agree with you there. It is one good trick. So what's my point about this? All of those bass players that I know locally here in New Orleans, they work day in and day out. They are working. They are the epitome of blue collar bass players. They put on the overalls, the hard hat, and they go play. My boy Thomas McDonald, he's got a jazz bass that ain't got no knobs on it. The action is high as all hell. It sounds amazing. It is scratched up, beat up, all to hell. And Thomas would, oh God, I love Thomas. I met Thomas McDonald in 1989 in the hallways of Delgado Community College, and he picked up that bass right there and played the shit out of it. I couldn't stand him because I was like, this boy's out playing me on my own thing. But he's sweetheart of a guy, plays his behind off, and I asked him, he said, they're wrenches. They're wrenches. They're hammers. They're wrenches. They are tools. They have the bases that they need for the job. They have bases and they have cables. That's it. I'm going to give you this example. And then I really have to pack an overnight bag and brush my teeth and take a shower and all that good stuff and find some clothes to wear. I saw in one of the forums somebody asked what was the first pedal that a beginner should have. What's the first pedal a beginner should have? And once again, and I'm not, listen, forums are forums and they're good. They're good. It's a good place to commune and all that. Everybody's kind of going on and on and on and on and on about what pedals a person should get. And we forget the question, what kind of music do you want to play and who do you want to play it with? I say your first pedal should be a tuner. But here's my pedal board. Now, tuner. But if I have a tuner by itself, just by itself, a tuner pedal by itself is nonsensical to me because then I have to power it. I have to have an additional cable. Hell, I could just have a clip-on tuner for that. So then what pedal should come next? For the type of music that I play when I use a pedal the most for my life, an envelope filter and an octave. I do have a compressor. Now my compressor is right after my tuner. I can't get into all that right now, but my big homie, I used to put it at the end, but it makes a difference in the front. But this is all I need. I don't need a multi-effects pedal. I don't need a stomp box. Not for my working life. Now, if I wanted to get a stomp box to experiment on my own, then that would be another thing. You see what I mean? So, I just love life doesn't work. Life doesn't work that way. It removes ways to effectuate collaboration. Effectuate. Get out of here. Look, if I put something on the internet, if I respond to a comment or something like that, I expect for people to, it's the internet. So you comment, I ain't got to like the comment. It's not that I don't like the comment. I just think it's nonsensical. And I think to use a word like effectuate, because it's, to use a word like effectuate makes me think that you want to appear to be smarter than the person you're responding to. And that, you want to talk about something that removes the ability to effectuate communication, is walking into a situation with the attitude that you're the smartest person in the room. I really think it all boils. I could be wrong. I'm going to leave you guys with this. I could be wrong. I don't think that I am. But if I am wrong, that's completely okay. I fully believe that you need to answer the questions in your brain. What kind of music do you want to play? Who do you want to play it with? What are you really, 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 really into? What do you really, really, really want to do? I tangented. I didn't get into. So when I wound up I wanted to read, but I didn't need to go to school to learn how to read. The benefit of being in school for reading was that I had to read all the time. That is where, like, folks say that they want to be able to read music, and I'm gonna show you guys something. I was gonna get off, and I'm gonna show you something. They say they want to read music, but they don't. And it's really not that hard. So I didn't have to go to school for that, but I was forced to be in situations where I had to read all the time. So if you want to learn how to read, you got to read. You have to have the discipline to put yourself in those positions. I talked about this Marcus Miller clinic that I had seen a long time ago, and I saved it. And for those of you who have stuck around, I'm going to show a little bit, because he says some things. He says some things here that are just absolutely spot on. So for those of you who are just joining, listen, I got 16 sets of eyes and only got 3 likes. Do me a favor right now, for the algorithm, hit that like button for me, please. Just hit that like button for me. So the challenge for those of you who are just joining, the challenge is this. Answer the questions honestly for yourself. Write them down on a sticky note. Put them wherever you practice. What kind of music do you want to play? Who do you want to play it with? What are you really into? And then for 30 days, thank you. I see the likes coming up. Please, if you're just joining, please go on and hit that like button. Doesn't cost you anything. And for 30 days, I want you to focus only on those things. Focus only on creators on YouTube that can lead you to that place, that you think can lead you to that place. Read only materials that bring you to that place. Please, that's what I'm asking you to do. Do it for 30 days. I have a good friend of mine, Cam Parrish, in the Bay Area. We met at a place called the Last Day. So this is a good story. We met at a place called the Last Day Saloon in San Francisco. And Jason, I appreciate that. And when we met, we were playing with two different artists. And my man, we talked for like 45 minutes about Michelle and Deggiocello and you know, Jamiroquai was real hot at the time with Space Cowboy. And the reason I'm saying this is because Cam is from Scotland. He's from the Highlands of Scotland. But boy, he was into neo soul and that type of thing. But he had grown up sort of as a rocker, right? But in this space and time, I remember us he dug so deep into neo soul. He's not a theory guy. He can kind of, but he can play. And when I say he's not a theory guy, he's not a guy that's just going to talk ad nauseum about music theory. You know, let me show you a little bit of this Marcus Miller clinic that I think is super, super dope. And then I'm going to get off and go get ready for the day.
With not reading, right? But if you were like at the top level, then you had to read. Now, most of you guys who play and don't read, you have amazing ears, right? You guys can hear anything. Especially the guys in church, man. I'm amazed. Y'all aren't reading anything? They say, nah, man, I just hear it. That's good. Because when you think about it, music is a language. You would agree with that, right? Okay. Think of another language. Let's think of English, right? When you learned English, did anybody tell you about verbs and pronouns?
I'll wait. Exactly.
No. You just started talking. You just started imitating your parents and your family and people around you. You learn how to talk.
Everybody does that. Everybody does that. I wish that I could say my philosophies on teaching come from Marcus, Victor, Anthony Wellington. Those are three people that I said my teaching. And Ed Friedland. There it is. I'm not gatekeeping anything. We're not curing cancer as bass players. We're not doing it. It ain't that serious. Another person was Dale Titus. Dale Titus who's and Dale is a good friend of mine. Ed Friedland is a good friend of mine. I don't know Marcus. I've taken lessons with Anthony. I haven't talked to him in a while. I have a casual acquaintance with Victor Wooten. But when I started to really get interested in teaching, these philosophies are what really started drawing me in. Because being a player and being a teacher are two different things. They're two different skill sets. There's nothing new under the sun. But language, music is a language. Nobody starts speaking. There's not a child on earth that starts speaking that waits until they learn how to read a book before they start speaking. Nobody.
6-7 years later, then they start to teach you about verbs and pronouns. They teach you what you're doing, right? Well, that's the same with music. A lot of you guys learn how to play by your ear. That's a beautiful, natural way to play. What's the next step? Now you gotta learn what you're doing, right? It's gonna help you because all of a sudden, man, you're gonna learn about major, minor chords. You're gonna learn.
I ain't gonna give you this whole thing because I want to put out a proper video on this. In my excuse me, J Pro says, I'm getting a text right now. I gotta get ready to. I got a long drive, like almost 5 hours. In your opinion, is there a genre that make you a better player than all genres? There isn't a genre. There isn't a, well, there is, I'm not going to say jazz. I'm not going to say jazz because then people think that they need to learn jazz. But I will say that understanding walking bass lines is going to, understanding walking bass lines will open the neck up more than damn near anything else. Why? Because walking bass lines are walking bass lines, you have to know how to connect the dots. So key of A, you know that's the key of A. And then let's say 2 5 1s. 2 5 1. 2 5 1, 2 5 1, 2 5 1. That means the second note of the scale, the fifth note of the scale, back to the first note of the scale, right? Four measures. 1 2 3 4 1 2. No, Andrew, I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna disagree with that. So 2 5 1. But now you got to outline that chord. So then you have to know how the notes work together. I am going to disagree with you, Andrew, on that. If you can play jazz, you can play anything. I understand why people would say that. But my experience has taught me. I've played a lot of corporate gigs, I've played so many corporates, so many weddings, and weddings, particularly weddings, will have a cocktail hour component, right? The background music component of a wedding. And what I have found, particularly with drummers and keyboard players, not all, but with a lot, if you get into cocktail hour and the drummer and the keyboard player are swinging their asses off, they swinging. They playing all the shit. They know all the shit. But when it comes to the dance tunes, because cocktail hour is this, the rest of the gig is boogie nights, brick house, you know what I'm saying, uptown funk, all that. And it's fewer and further between when there's people who, because and this is kind of an unfair assessment. This is kind of an unfair assessment, but I'm gonna say that the best, not even the best, but the most enjoyable players that I've been able to play with, excuse me, are gonna be able to do the bulk of the gig and make it feel good. I don't consider myself a jazz dude. I just don't. I don't have a huge repertoire of jazz tunes. I haven't like just gone, but if I got to do cocktail hour, there's going to be a handful of tunes that I'm going to know from memory. And then there's going to be more tunes that I'm going to, that might be 2 or 3 tunes that I need to look up a chart for. And when I see the chart, I'm going to be able to play what is stylistically appropriate for that tune. But what I excel at, me as a player, what I excel at the get people on the dance floor stuff. That's what I excel at. And I used to want to be like the guy who did everything. And then, the older I got and the more realistic I got about my life and my goals and things like that, I was like, you can't be the dude that knows me. I'm talking about me. It's like, you're not the dude that could just be the expert at everything. Be real. I'm real good at the shit I'm real good at. You know what I mean? I'm real good at the things that I'm real good at. And I do have to be realistic about what other time I'm going to put into other things. Once again, what kind of music do you want to play? Who do you want to play it with? I'll give you another example using Thomas McDonald, and then I'm going to get up off of here. Thomas bought an upright, and he really wasn't an upright player, but he bought an upright a year or so ago. And I love this guy because when you talk to him, he's got the excitement of a child. We're around the same age, and he's just got the excitement of a kid all the time. He's like, I'm gonna play this thing. And every time I saw Thomas, he's dragging around this upright. He played that thing every chance he got. If it meant he was hauling extra gear to his regular Bourbon Street gig, he was playing it. He just copped a whole nother gig, a 5-day-a-week gig. And we live in New Orleans, so, I know every place is not like that. But he done got a whole nother 5-day-a-week gig because he's playing upright. He got a family to feed. And he was like, shit, I want to learn. I want to get this under my, we live in New Orleans. If you play upright, you're going to work a little bit more than the dude who plays just electric. I used to play upright. I don't play upright. I can, if I bought an upright and I shared the upright, I could get the chops back. I know the things that I need to do to get the chops back. Is that what I want to do? No, it's not what I want to do. So I'm not doing that. At least not right now. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, get you a piece of paper, write it down, get you a sticky note, write it down. What kind of music do I want to play? Who do I want to play it with? What am I really into? Write those things down and let those be your guiding questions for the next 30 days. I would love to have you over at Groove School, but you guys know that I do a certain thing. My thing may not be for you. I love having you as a subscriber. If you're here, I love having you as a subscriber. And I don't want you to leave. But I want you to play too. I don't want you to let another week, another 30 days or whatever go by. And you're like, well, I just spent, a whole bunch of money on a 6-string bass, but I can't play the 4-string that I bought last year. I'm out of here, y'all. I got to go get ready for my gig. As always, peace. 2 fingers.